So, as we get started here, I kind of wanted to share something that I just thought was kind of funny to me. So, yeah, let's do this. So, yeah, I decided to go ahead and do some looking into some more specifics about what exactly is the difference between this game and some of the future games, most notably the Pixel Remaster version. Now, let's be clear. Obviously, the Pixel Remaster is better. But something I found very interesting, and forgive me for getting on my high horse for just a second. Just 1 second, okay? You know how when people talk about, like, remasters or remakes or rebirths, reports or re-whatevers, reimaginings, they always talk about the big back-of-the-box shit. Like, what's different? And it always kind of frustrates me a little bit when I get a question like, what's different when it comes to these? Because the usual answer is the little things are different. For example, the Pixel Remaster obviously has new graphics, new music, and some new quality of life features. But all of that just makes a bad game more tolerable, to be frank. So what actually, what makes the game actually better? Well, let me give you some changes here. So at the beginning of the game, obviously you start off with the same basic stats, although in the Pixel Remaster version you start with 10 mana instead of 5, which sounds like a small amount. Yes, Walker. But actually that's pretty huge. Ignoring the fact that it literally doubles your mana pool, it also, in practical application, means you get 5 more spells before you have to recover, since each spell costs 1 mana at the beginning of the game. Okay, so that's actually a pretty decent change by itself. You start off with the same gold in both versions, which is 400. However, everything costs substantially less, usually by a factor of at least 3 in the Pixel Remaster version. So, for example, something that costs 400 only costs 150 gold in the Pixel Remaster version. Similarly, enemies drop an average of about 5 times more gold. I know I was mentioning the number 10 times, but actually, whoa, hang on. Doing the number crunching myself and actually mathing it out, it is an average of 5 times more. And the range is increased by a little bit over double. So if you get perfect luck, it doubles the overall drop rate of money. Hang on. There's another thing they did, because in the original version you have about a 5% chance to get the best drop of most enemies, and that best drop is usually money. And for example, the Soldier Witch Guild has a 5% drop rate of 50 gil, which is a decent chunk actually. It's been this part of the game. But it's a 5% drop rate. In the Pixel Remaster version, that is a 30% drop rate, which is a substantial improvement. So you're a lot more likely to get more gil, in addition to the fact that more gil is dropping to begin with. Then you get into things like the chests, which have been almost completely changed over. Some potions become high potions. Most of the gil amounts increase, in some cases, from like 1 to 200. And Mega Man music starts playing, which is obviously important. Sorry. So, yeah, that's a huge difference. That is a gargantuan shift. And those relatively, seemingly unimportant changes make the game, frankly, better. Especially the early game better. Because the early game is very, very rough in this game, as it is in most old RPGs. The reason I'm banging on this drum so much, and again, the reason I'm getting up on my soapbox, is because nobody talks about that. Right? Like, nobody cares. If you're trying to sell a remake of a game, and you're like, yeah, the drop rate of gold has been increased throughout the early game, nobody cares. But you, the actual player sitting down and playing, will notice that difference, even if you're not really processing the difference. It will be a substantial change to how your experience is going to go. And it will make your overall playing experience, at least substantially better. It's ignoring the fact that it has all the bug changes, which makes several things, actually work correctly. But in addition to that, one more thing while we're here. No, exactly, TSB. Like, how do you convey that? Improvements to gameplay is actually the closest I usually see someone summarize all that. But again, it's the improvements to gameplay that matter. I actually fully believe, as of this moment in time, that the Pixel Remaster version of this game will actually score a net positive. And I know what you're thinking. Of course it will, but I wasn't willing to concede that until this morning. because it's still FF2, right? It's still going to have troll rooms. It's still going to have some wonky leveling systems and blah, blah, blah. But hey, speaking of leveling, you know another thing they changed? So weapons and magic take 100 experience to level each level, all the way up to 16. So that's 1,600 experience total in order to max out any given equipment that you get, right? In the Pixel Remaster version, and actually several versions. I keep saying Pixel Remaster, but it's actually like pretty much the GBA version and onwards. Did I just seriously just get 0 experience? Anyways, the words. In the future ports of the versions, instead of taking 100 experience, it takes 20, and then 25, and then 25, and then 30, and then 30. You get it, right? In other words, each of the level ups takes an increasing amount of experience, which substantially increases the speed of getting caught up on weapons and spells, while also simultaneously reducing the overall grind just to max out anything. Now, that's important for a lot of reasons. The most obvious is, reducing the grind. That's always good. But there's one other little niggle, one other little thing that changes, which I'm not sure most people even realize, which is if you reduce the grind necessary to get started on learning a new spell or a new weapon, then if you get a new weapon or spell, guess what? You can immediately start using it because it will take much less time to level it up to the point where it's actually going to have a decent hit chance and damage calculation. In other words, if you've been leveling Furion on Sword and you're in the middle of a dungeon and get a really nice spear, you can just switch to the spear. As opposed to be just in this version of the game where you're sitting at like, I don't know, is that worth grinding on the spear to get it back to where it's going to be worth it again? Because remember, it's taking literally over 5 times the grind just to get started on leveling that from 1. These are the changes that matter. I'm just going to be blunt about that. New graphics are nice, that's whatever. New music is cool, sure. The gameplay improvements are what make the future versions of the game better, which is why so many people say, play the Pixel remasters of 1 through 6. Now, someone asked him, it was President Clam, thoughts on the trend of 2D HD JRPG style? As always, it depends on what they do with it. I have been rather famous, I suppose, infamous, for absolutely hating Octopath Traveler. Still, by the way, that hasn't changed. It's still Garbo. But a lot of that, Jesus Christ. I just realized she is not leveling her HP at all. Still, by the way. Yeah, the blur is a huge reason for that, to be very clear. But even ignoring the blur, there's sort of this excessive post-processing that a lot of these games like to do to make them look better. And it just makes the game look worse to me. Like, you show me this 2D, 3D sprite thing, and I'm like, okay, that's cool. And then there's, like, God rays and bloom and fog and, like, weird lighting issues, and I'm just like, oh, okay, no, could you get rid of that, please? You give me an option to turn all that stuff off, I'm down. And it's worth noting some games have done variable amounts of these. For example, the recent Dragon Quest remake, at least one, I looked at Dragon Quest 1 remake, seemed to do a decent job of that kind of thing. I haven't looked at 3, I haven't looked at 2. I haven't really poked at Star Ocean 2R, so I'm not sure otherwise. Now, is Octopath Traveler a bad game or coffee? It is a terrible game. I'm willing to say that because I did actually do a review of it, even though it was before the Oblivion line. And let me tell you, it did not score well pre-Oblivion line. Now you're probably thinking, why? Well, this is a funny question. It's actually directly relevant to FF2 because I can't give you a big back-of-the-box reason for why it's so terrible. It's down to the details. It's down to all the little minute details of exactly how they balance what and where. The power progression in Octopath Traveler is a absolute slog, and more or less mandates a walkthrough. To try and summarize, you don't just go and fight enemies and win. There's no grinding to speak of. It's actually worse than that. Because it's Mega Man music, and everyone hates Mega Man music. I'm going to let this one play. Screw you. You get to hear Mega Man music. It's worse than typical grind, because what you have to do is you have to grind chance. You have to do specific interactions on specific people in order to try and get specific items in order to fulfill your build. And that sucks, exactly as much as it sounds like. You can save right before it. What it is you save, you talk to the NPC, you try the thing, you reload your save until you get the item you're looking for. By the way, most of those NPCs have multiple items in their loot tables, which means you're going to be doing this until you get the right item, not just an item at all. Also, I sure hope you have a walkthrough to tell you where the correct items are in dungeons, because usually there's like one instance of a given item in a given dungeon, and you go and get that item. The gear is a huge part of your build in Octopath Traveler, so getting those right items is mandatory. I'm actually getting really lucky drops here for we're actually getting some HP ups on Maria. Holy crap. What do you think of the effect, by the way? I thought I'd just do something to vary it up a little bit. I noticed nobody's commented on it, so I'm guessing nobody's actually noticed it. So, wasted effort. That's a good time as any to mention that the dungeon design that goes into FF2 is... it's very dungeon crawlery. No, believe it or not, there's no sparkling stars in the background of FF2 on the NES. I can actually put whatever back there. It just doesn't work as well if it's something else. For example. It'll be more obvious when we get into combat here. So now we've just got Mega Man going on. This is now Mega Man 2. Literally, I suppose. Hang on, President Clamp. Dungeon design. So, there's this thing, right? There's Mega Man 3. There's this thing in dungeon crawlers. Like Cloudblade, well, I could, actually. And dungeon crawlers... So, okay. God, I'm sorry. My brain is barely engaged because I'm just so headachy right now. The idea here is that a lot of dungeon crawlers are designed around the concept that you're going to be going through a dungeon multiple times. In other words, you are supposed to start a dungeon, and gain money, equipment, experience, leave, recoup at town, go back to dungeon, go further into dungeon, and repeat however many times is necessary. It was actually, in fact, considered pretty average for a long time there that the number of times you should do any given dungeon is 3. Once to start in, once to get further in, once to finish it, right? For the record, I don't consider this particularly good game design unless you're doing other stuff to make this work. What I mean by that is if that's your game, if your entire game is structured around that, then yeah, sure, that can work and that can be a thing, but I feel like in RPGs like these, it just kind of bogs down the experience. Especially since in a lot of these cases, the dungeon is absolutely nowhere near the nearest rest spot. So, I do admittedly think that is bad design in these games. I mention that because you're going to notice me leave this dungeon in a minute here in order to go recover, because I'm already tapped on mana and resources from getting in here, and I'm only on like floor 2. This is what I should have done last night, admittedly. I should have just cut my losses and bailed. And, wow. That is a form of padding. So anyway, so in case you missed that, well, just died. That's okay. I kind of expected this. So let's get out of here. We do have the exit spell. Which, by the way, I forgot about that. In this version of the game, the exit spell hurts you. I actually forgot about that. That's just wild. I don't know what to say to that. The exit spell costs you damage. This is such a troll game. It really is. So, let me get out of here. Oh, yeah, by the way, I figured out how to do the map. Whoops. There it is! Hey, check it out! There's the map. Isn't it great? Isn't it useful? Yeah, by the way, here you can do this. Yeah, let me see if I can find Mazidia. Let's see how long it takes us to get to Mazidia here. Oh, hey, it's Mega Man X now. You know, I actually don't know Blade-to-Roll. By the way, if you're wondering, you have to hold down B and then hit select. Oh no, this is some programming voodoo, to be very clear. It is impressive in its own terrible way. But it's still not a great map. Especially given if you want to actually navigate around to find something, you've got to do what I'm doing right now. We're almost there. We're almost to Mazidia. Hang on. Hang on. Wait for it. Wait for it. Look right around here somewhere. Nope. More. Keep going. Keep going. Is it visible yet? No. Hang on. Where the hell's Mazidia? Should be like right there. Is it not visible on the map? Oh my god. Because that's the Mazidian cave right there. Whatever. Anyways, point being, the map sucks. Moving on. So I have been asked to remove the Mega Man. I'm very sad. Having to remove Mega Man is always a sad thing. Now, let's put Final Fantasy up. That's a good idea. There we go. Let's just put Final Fantasy in the background. That feels appropriate. So anyways, the map... I was just about to give another negative and I forgot what it was. Damn it, there's so many negatives. For real, have you noticed how many negatives we're at for being 3 hours into the game? It's, it is impressive. Like, I'm actually impressed by how many negatives this is. I was just gonna give it a... What was it for? What was it for? Supposedly Octopath 0 and Octopath 2 are much better games, Walker. I haven't played them. I kind of refused. Yeah, whatever. Oh my god, I was just thinking about a negative. Remember it now. Oh my god. That's gonna bother me. Good morning, Evo. You ready to watch Final Fantasy while you watch Final Fantasy? That was it. Exit. It was the exit spell. Thank you, Darkrai. We'll put that under quality of life. It literally does damage. I'm not even sure how much. I'll do a test in a minute here to see exactly how much damage it does. But yeah, so I have to roam all back up here. Now we get some Final. Yeah, check it out. There's the Final Fantasy with your Final Fantasy. Really want to Final Fantasy this up here. My inventory is... Yeah, by the way, you may or may not have noticed there's a note in my notes there that says 12 key items, 37.5%. Let me explain what that means. This game has key items. Like the ring. You see this ring? We can't throw this ring away. That's important. Because it means that is now an inventory tax. We just have a ring in our inventory forever. There are 12 key items in this game and 32 inventory slots. That means 37.5% of our inventory is just not there. And never will be. The entire game. That never gets better. In fact, it actively, demonstrably gets worse over time. Oh yeah, we haven't even talked about equipping items yet, so let's go ahead and do that here, since I haven't shown that off yet. So let's go to Rye here, right? So there's an item slot in the equipment, and you can equip things like a potion. Hey, look, potion. I'm actually going to equip garlic, because that's a good thing to do at this point. We'll put that on Guy as well here. Because I know what garlic is. Nothing tells you what garlic is, by the way. I'll give you a hint. It does damage in an AoE to undead enemies and has a chance to break. We'll talk about chance to break in a minute. Point being, you have to equip an item to use it in combat. Please think about that for 5 seconds. You also, of course, only have one equipment slot, because why would you have more than one equipment slot? Don't be stupid. FF1 had a larger and better inventory, Evo. And I am not joking. Like, in case you missed this, Evo, because I know you didn't catch this yesterday, here's our inventory. Now, you may or may not notice anything about these potions. They're just kind of hanging out here. Before you... Look, I'm gonna try and stack them. You'll notice nothing's happening. You may or may not remember this, but yeah, items stacked to 99 in FF1. It was actually considered mandatory as early as the Marsh Cave, the first dungeon in the game, to have a stack of 99 potions at all times. Now, that had its own issues, but you could do it. And are we in the right formation? No, actually. Actually, we're in completely the wrong form. I just realized here. There we go. Yeah, so fun fact. Depending on how you do things, you effectively have to have at least one person in the front row. But the people in the back row not only take extremely less damage, but are massively less targeted. So this is why you have to have someone in the front row, because otherwise you could effectively be invincible. Hey, Furian's already dead. Wow, I just didn't even make it back to the cave. So we're going to do a thing here. Now, that is an excellent question, Evo. I look forward to your answer. Yeah, I love Bluin to death. They're a great person. The statement, there's no grind in FF2, is one of the most hilarious things I've ever heard anybody say about this game. Like, there's a lot of good things that legitimate people have made legitimate arguments about over the years for this game. Not grinding is not one of them. Now, let's take a look at our health, okay? 68, 40, 116, 195. Let's cast exit. $68, 40, 116, 12! Yeah, it puts whoever casts it at critical health. which I believe is percentage-based, or as close to it as we can get in an NES. I'm going to try that when we get there, Blade Duval. You'll notice we have already had to stop and effectively grind 3 times. Now, I've gotten a little bit lackluster with the combat, and I'll freely admit that, because I'm already bored of it. But, like, I'm sorry. I am already underleveled for the first dungeon of the game. Amusingly, this is not nearly as bad as the Marsh Cave. It's because the Marsh Cave, let me tell you, is a terrible, terrible dungeon. But this is not great. Why is he back in the... Oh, god damn it. It's true, if I ever feel the need to grind in PR, I could just be like, give me 4 times everything. And done. Oh my god, I just realized what's going on. Alright, hang on, let's just do this really quick. Yeah, so, there. 42 agility, Jesus Christ. My Maria has 16, and I'm pretty sure that's after getting an agility up, by sheer random luck chance. Okay, so this should be a little bit better now. Yeah, probably because they're playing the Pixel Remaster version Darkrai. Again, the little details matter. That's the whole thing the whole point I was trying to make earlier. Like, again, screw the music, screw the visuals. The game under the hood is better in the Pixel Remaster version. Well, that's a good question, Evo. So, obviously they had the scenario writer and Sakaguchi writing the story for this game, such as it is, but this is still an NES game, and every single script of text takes up a surprisingly large amount of space in an NES game, and NES games have a finite amount of space, period. There's only so much they can do with that. The SNES, by contrast, could have oodles of text. By comparison, obviously. The SNES actually still had limited text space. But it was night and day compared to what was allowed before. Also, for FF4, they brought in a gentleman who... I might have his name right here. Damn, I don't... But there's a guy who was brought in who was a theater person. As in theatrical works, plays and stuff like that. In fact... I actually have a comment from him. This is from Bio. I was going to share this when we get to FF4, but since I got nothing else going on right now. He says, "Hi, Bio," because Bio reached out to him and says, "Thank you for your message. Let me answer your question about Final Fantasy IV. Originally, I aspired to be a voice actor, performing in plays as part of a theater troupe. My entry into game development came when I joined as a part-time designer working on pixel art. With the success of Dragon Quest, I realized that drama can be portrayed even in games. Scenario, acting, direction, I can handle it all myself, so I chose the path of game design. In FF4, I personally scripted every single scene, moved the characters, storyboarding, and even adjusted dialogue. It was the first time acting and all the characters it was my first time acting all the characters myself and directing the entire comprehension. God damn it. The entire production comprehensively. It was a wonderful experience and has directly shaped my life since." I can't remember that gentleman's name. I'll be mentioning him when we get to FF4, but he is probably the single most responsible person for why FF4 has a freaking story. Oh, hey, Furion's dead again. God damn it! Furion, my boogie. Yeah, Ian's HP. 0. No, I agree. FF4 really does feel like a theater play, and in a good way. It's also probably why one of the biggest flaws of FF4's story is the story sequencing. Because in a play, you just change scenes, right? You don't need to have the connective tissue there. It's kind of implied. That's not a dig, that's just an observation. Yeah, anytime someone dies, they go to the back row. I don't. Oh yeah, FF6 really has a theater vibe. I've never bought into the idea that FF6 is literally a play. I think that's silly. But it is definitely structured like one. By the way, what you're witnessing right now is what we're calling the Blue Wind negative. Now, I love Blue Wind. They're cool. They're a cool person. But when I asked them, do you have any positives or negatives to suggest for this game, since they refused to watch this stream, they came up with many positives, some of which I agreed with. But they could only come up with one negative in the entire game. And I had to double check to make sure that they weren't kidding or joking. So again, they came up with one possible negative for the entire game. And that negative is... Hang on, dramatic pause. Hang on. Here, this negative. I'm just going to leave my hands off the camera. So, ice. This target, damage. Ice effect. This target, this damage. Ice effect. This target, this damage. This person died. Ice effect. This target, this damage. This person died. Anytime you do an AoE, the way they handled AoE spells in this is they just repeat the spell effect on every single target individually. No, they're dead, Mad Overlord. We're murdering them. We're spilling their blood. We want to make sure that this place is soaked in their blood. I want them crying and screaming as they beg for mercy, as I rip their tongues out. This is what I'm like when I have a headache. Just don't worry about it. Where have we gone this way? We have. Yeah, but that's the only negative Blue One was able to come up with, was the AoE animation seconds in minutes. Actually, yeah, Evo. I get it. I do. If someone was going to do a stream of, I don't know, Mega Man X1 and just bash the game the entire time, I'd be like, dude, what? And let's be clear, I'm going to be bashing this game a lot. You know why? Because it sucks. And that's the thing. There's this wonderful disconnect, which some people get and some people don't. There's nothing wrong with liking something that sucks within reason. But it still sucks. I'm never going to back off from the fact that this sucks. You will never get me to try and compromise by saying FF2 doesn't suck. Because it sucks! This is one of the most objectively bad RPGs I've covered. I'd say, like, probably the fourth or so most objectively bad. Like, there's no debate here, right? But the catch is it has to go both ways. I'm totally cool with you liking this, but you have to be cool with me saying that it sucks. And that's the part that most people, in my experience, tend to have issues with. Because I've long since mastered the art of being totally cool with people liking things. Right? Like that. Duh. Right? If you looked me in the eye and said, I love Birdemic, I'd be like, cool! What do you like most about it? But if you cannot then, if I then say, wow, that movie really sucks, I'm glad you enjoyed it, you can't get all defensive about that. Because it's Birdemic! You know? Sorry, a bit of a rant, bit of a pet peeve kind of a thing, because I've been dealing with this for over a decade now. This is, after all, something I made my primary job. Yeah, Birdemic's kind of a bad example. This is nowhere near as bad as Birdemic. But, like, it was just the first thing that came to mind. Because, as you might imagine, I actually know people who like Birdemic. Including me, by the way. Birdemic sucks, but if you haven't watched, okay, real talk, if you have not watched Birdemic, do me a favor and watch it sometime, just once. It's so bad. It is so bad. It is a comedy of errors. Yeah, hey, by the way, did you catch that? You know how much gil we just got from that chest? I'll give you a hint. It was 1! We just got 1 gil from that. Hang on, I was just looking at the loot tables earlier. Give me 1 second. Give me 1 second. Here we go. Simmet Falls, right? So that chest... Anyone want to guess what it drops in every other version of the game? It drops having no water. That's what it drops. 200. Exactly. It drops 200 gold. I'm staring at the loot table right here. 10 becomes 200. 200 becomes 400. Potion becomes high potion. 1 becomes 200. 50 becomes 250. Those changes matter. I hate to keep hammering this point in, but those changes matter. And yeah, I agree with Darkrai. Like, you're absolutely right. Like, people who play the Pixel remaster of FF2, I would understand why, let's assume for a moment that you have no exposure to the FFs or these RPGs or whatever. And you sit down and you play the most accessible version of FF2, which you have, which is the Pixel remaster. Like, it's kind of hard to get a hold of the PS1 or the GBA versions right now. Never mind the NES. So you sit down and you play the Pixel remaster version of F2, and you're like, this is fine. You don't really run into a lot of issues. There's some wonkiness, and there is, and some of the dungeon design still sucks. But it's like, and? So I can completely buy someone just being like, what's the big kerfuffle about? There's no issues here. This is why. I don't know if you could hear that. I installed a water filter. It's like fresh, clean water. I like fresh, clean water. No, exactly, Blade Troll. That is pretty much exactly why I really wanted to review this version of the game. I'm pretty sure that the Pixel Remaster version is going to score at least decently, right? At worst, it's probably going to be like negative 40-ish, right? And go ahead... Remember that for years from now when we finally cover FF2 PR and it scores like negative 300 or whatever. But like, just, I'm willing to put my mouth where my money's on that. I'm pretty sure that negative 40 is about where the Pixel Remaster is going to be for 2. A reasonably decent game. I know that sounds strange, but like that range from about, what is it, like 50 to 50, negative 50 to 50 is just kind of generally, yeah. Decent, right? But that's not what this is. I wanted to review the worst FFs. This is why I've been slowly talking myself into doing the DS version of FF3 someday, because Christ. Yeah, green episode. Still stuff to enjoy, still good things. So no, I don't think Blue Wind is really arguing this version of the game's good. Because Blue Wind has freely admitted that they have almost no exposure to the NES version of this game. Wow, that sounds familiar. Oh yeah, but I'm sorry, I didn't even mention this. This is not a huge issue, it's just kind of funny. I can't target past 2 rows. I can only target the front 2 rows with a melee attack. She can't. Oh, she can't. Never mind. Excuse me. Oh, whatever. I can hit in the back row with ice because magic is magic. Hey, Spinobi. I have not covered Season 2. I will never cover Season 2. I'll just go ahead and say that right now. Never watching it. Never going to cover it. Um, but I do appreciate the sub, Spinobi. And if you want to put that towards up to 3 things, please let me know. I'll have to play an emulator. It's the DS version. Oh no, I guess it's on PC, isn't it? Is it? I actually don't remember. It contains something that I think ruins Star Wars as a whole. That's it. That's the summary. It's the kind of thing that shouldn't exist, is how I'm going to phrase that. And simply by it existing, it kind of slants the entire setting. I wonder if I own the 3DS version on PC. I might. Sorry, Blateville, sorry. One other reason I did want to do this, and Takoda even mentioned this yesterday, which yeah, is spot on, is that there's a lot to discuss with regards to game design here. Like, FF2 is a fascinating game to cover precisely because it is so experimental, right? No, you thought I was going to say because it's so bad, and that's valid, but no, it is specifically because of the fact that it is so experimental. It was trying so many things that it failed a lot, to put that as nicely as I possibly can. Like, Eva was just asking earlier, why did they change the inventory system? Because they wanted to try a new inventory system. It's literally different programming under the hood. Completely different programming. And yeah, Square learned a huge amount from this game. Most of the items, I mean, that 30-some-odd negative list is almost all stuff I could already give, because most of it is structural. It's system negatives, right? An enormous quantity of those things are actually fixed in FF3. No, really, the NES version of FF3. Hi, Girl. Tell me you recognize what this song is from, and I will put $10 towards a game of your choice right now. Go on, make my day. Let's do it. God, I love how Maria is still just getting no health. Furion's finally starting to get some health. Yes, actually, Spinobi. That is exactly correct. I mean, I don't want to go into the whole speech. Everyone's been yelling at me for how stupid I am for even thinking this, but in my opinion, if you introduce something... What game is this song from, Trixia? If you introduce a thing into your setting as a concept, now that concept is there. It is now part of the setting, and there's no walking that back. Up until then, we could just sort of assume that it is a fictional setting, which doesn't completely one-to-one compare to real life, right? If I might use a comparison, there's no sexual assault in Warcraft. The setting doesn't exist. Now, as it happens, that's actually a deliberate choice on the behalf of the writers. Metzen has actually done an interview saying, none of that crap exists in my setting, and I respect that. But you get the point. Even if he hadn't said that, even if I didn't know that, I could presume that there is no such thing in that setting because it doesn't exist in the setting. It's never even mentioned. Okay, cool. Which brings us to Star Wars, which has sat in a very similar space for a very long time, until Andor Season 2 comes along. It's okay, though, because there's this thing called headcanon, which I'm sure you've never heard of before. And definitely isn't something we're all very used to employing in our lives. It's a troll room, of course. Hi, Dr. Winter. Any guesses, who, girl? Before I tell Trihexi if they got it right. Yeah, we've definitely never headcanoned Star Wars, right? That's another thing. Slavery is such a common thing in Star Wars, but almost always is, and I'm going to be as nice about this as I can, nowhere near as bad as real-life slavery. Which I'm okay with, because it's Star Wars. Star Wars, I've actually talked about this before. Star Wars is a weirdly positively inclined setting, considering it's got war in the name. It is a setting that trends positive, right? Yeah, exactly, Blitable. It is a setting that has been about slowly getting better and doing better and improving things over time. Yeah, no, yeah, exactly. Watto, Shmi was a slave. Anakin was a slave, and they were treated fine. I mean, from a, I don't want to be in favor of slavery because slavery is awful, but like, you get my point, right? The well of bad goes down from there, you know? No, exactly, Spinobi. That's exactly the vibe right there. Like, modern Trek, New Trek has done many things I'm not a big fan of, but the thing that irritates me the most is how much they've been leaning into being edgy for edgy's sake in a way that I legitimately feel does not fit in Star Trek. I hate using that phrase because I've seen people argue, that's just not Star Trek, or that's just not Star Wars for years, to what I can only refer to as bad effect. But I mean it. I actually think that certain specific things in New Trek aren't Trek. It's not everything. There's plenty of good stuff in New Trek. We've got, oh god, the Pike show was pretty decent, for all things considered. Lower Decks, Prodigy, you know, some individual aspects of some of the shows. But you get the point. I look at stuff like that and I'm just like, I'm good. I am old enough and have enough other things on my plate that I'm comfortable just not eating that particular bit of pie, even if it's a good overall pie, you know? I know that's a terrible analogy, but bear with me. Yeah, no kidding, Spinobi. Of course, it helps that Seth is actually a pretty legit guy by most measures. I really hope that I'm not wrong about that, because Lord knows we keep finding out about other people and how awful they are. But everything I've ever seen about Seth MacFarlane has indicated that he is he's a geek, right? He is a very one-of-us kind of a geek, who is a huge sci-fi geek and Star Trek geek and all kinds of other fun stuff, who has put up with doing his particular brand of humor for years because that makes money so he can go do the things he actually wants to. Orville itself falls into that category. The first few episodes of Orville, if you ever watched the show, are substantially different from the rest of the show because he was mandated to do his style of humor as a hook. And then once that was in, he was like, okay, now can I do my show? Now that's a funny one, Darkrai. So, once upon a time, back in what we're going to call the edgy 90s, Corona was a product of that, is what we're going to call that. Now, would it surprise you to know that that has been completely retconned out of existence because everyone involved realized that they were dumb, edgy teenagers back in the 90s? In fact, it's actually been retconned twice now. Oh, this encounter rate. Let's try this button a little bit more. Hey! Is this where I want to be? Hang on. Let me pull up a map of this stupid place. Yes, they retconned pretty much everything that was questionable. And again, for the reasons I already mentioned. That's why I know that that Metzen in specific had that interview about it, because people asked why, and his response was, no, I'm good. To summarize a little bit. What am I looking for? I'm looking for game facts. You're probably thinking, why game facts? Well, there's this wonderful person, yes I did, Evo, who, his name is Keyblade 999. There's also Starfighter 76, but both of those people have done so many maps over the years. The custom, the guy I'm really talking about, though, is Starfighter 76. There's a good chance you know who Starfighter 76 is, even if you've never seen their stuff. And I can explain very simply, right? Check this out. See this? You see this? Does this look familiar? Because this is Starfighter 76. Now, he's not the only one who does that. They? I don't know the gender. But yeah, you probably recognize this stuff. Very basic, but extremely effective, well-labeled maps. Made in Paint, I do believe. You are a hero. Yeah, if you look down here and you check their picture, it says Starfighter Cypher 76 has made over 5,200 maps to GameFAQs. This specific image was made. This one was made in 2018. That's actually really recent. Some of these are made a lot earlier than that. It's all case by case, Nobinobi. It's just, especially in Star Wars' case, it's like, do we have to have that in Star Wars? Is that necessary? Is that mandatory? Anyways, let me get to Evo's question here really quick. Evo says, you want to add a joke item that does nothing and as nothing. It's going to sit in your inventory, but the inventory is infinite. Would an item in your bag that doesn't go away be a negative by itself? Yes. In fact, it would be 3 negatives, and then 6, and then 47. No, that's fine. That's whatever. Actually, Yahoo Girl. No joke. Okay, so hang on. I am actually looking for something specific here. Give me a second. Okay, so you're here. That goes to 3. 3 goes to here. There's I. There it is. Okay, so we can keep going for a second. Because the thing is, we're actually only about halfway through this dungeon. Again. Tell me about the mithril. Okay, she says nothing. Whatever. Okay, whatever. The slaves are freed. Woo! Actually, yes, Trahexia. What's started becoming a little bit more common is there's this... Like, I'll find a Reddit thread. And the Reddit thread is like, hey, here's this answer to this question. And the post is from a bajillion years ago, right? Just absolutely forever ago. And I'm like, oh, wow, thanks. And then there will be another post much more recently, which says, hey, reposting this to boost its search algorithm for anybody looking for this in insert more modern year. Actually, let's go ahead and do this, because we're gonna run. We're not done with this dungeon. There's no way. We have a boss fight coming up, and we are nowhere on that. Right, we've got 105 health. Oh God, no, no, Maria, no, no, please. Hell yeah, push-ups. I don't know what that means. I'm too old. I've officially lost the lingo. Now that's an interesting question, Spinobi. I would say yes, but that's such a hypothetical that I can't even think of an example of it off the top of my head, right? I'm sure there is. I'm sure there is such an example. I can't think of one. Oh, hell yeah! That's some music right there. Let's go do this. Let's fast forward through this. Okay, so... Well, I've never seen Man in the High Castle, so I can't speak to that. Oh my god, her bow leveled. I am in shock. Her bow actually leveled. Her bow is now level 2. I've been using it constantly. Yeah, you remember how I mentioned how level... Oh, excuse me. No, I'm wrong. It's level 3. Holy shit. Holy. Yeah, her HP did not go up. You'll notice I very specifically did not heal her because I was saving it. Oh, God. Yeah, Birth of the Nation would probably be vetoed. Not that I would ever have any reason to cover that. Mein Kampf would probably be vetoed, too. Well, just going for the low-hanging fruit here. Okay, so hang on. What's our sword and shield up to? We're almost at 3 on sword and shield. That's actually pretty good. How's he doing on staff? Not terribly. How are we doing on magics? Oh my god, ice is almost level 2. Almost. Listen, Dr. Winter, listen. Anybody who looks at the Imperium of Man and says, they've got some good ideas, missed a couple of things. But then again, that's actually really common. How many people read Dune and think that Paul is the good guy there? That's extremely common. Disgustingly common. I feel silly for even bringing it up because it's so common. Yeah, Starship Troopers is another one. Well, spoilers, Lord Harriman. Paul is not the good guy. I don't feel bad spoiling that because it's the entire point of the book. Let's see. So I want to go. So real quick, up, right, or down? Down. Okay, down leads to a dead end. Right leads to a dead end. I'm just gonna go up. I can also go through a door that leads to a troll room. Normally, I'm trying not to use maps. But I've already done this dungeon. Can we go? Come on, guys. I've already done the dungeon. Please, I'm begging you. Mercy. Mercy. Oh, no, there's some nostalgia. I think I've told you guys before. I don't, Rorschach? Oh my god! The number of people who think Rorschach is the good guy or that he's got the right ideas is disturbing. I can't remember his name. The writer who made Watchmen has gone on record several times as saying, "What is wrong with you people?" The whole point of Rorschach is to be a deconstruction of exactly that. To be like a showcasing of how that kind of vigilantism can go very badly very quickly. And people are like, yeah, he's got the right idea. Woo, okay. Okay. Anyways, I think I've mentioned to you guys before, I don't get nostalgia in the traditional sense of the word. I never have, my whole life. Except for audio. It's actually not even music necessarily. It's just sound. I don't know what it is. Sound just clicks like that for me. So I hear this and it's like, ah. Well, that has nothing to do with anything, though, Trihexia, which is kind of the point, really. Okay, so that was the boss, but we want to go fight an optional boss. Oh, yeah, there's another one. Garrosh did nothing wrong. Started as a troll post, right? Your typical contrarian bullcrap. Ha ha ha. I'm so edgy because the genocidal orcish supremacist did nothing wrong. Tee hee hee. Oh, hey, it did it. Ice is down level 2. Those people are stupid. Let's be nice about that as I can. But then some people started saying it legitimately because... Yeah, contrarianism is a very common thing. I'm the same way. And I'm nothing like that. No, for real. I am the same way. All human beings have a degree of inherent contrarianism to them. It's actually part of how human beings learn and develop. We push back, right? If you ever have taken care of a young child, and you know exactly what I'm talking about. If you haven't, let me tell you something. One of the most frustrating things in the world is to get a child to eat. And I know that sounds strange because you think it's eating. They're hungry. No, it's because you're telling them to eat. They push back against that. I don't want to eat. Or, I don't want to eat this. Right? Again, everybody in the audience, everyone on the VOD or on stream right now is probably who have taken care of a child is probably nodding their heads right now. Because it is so frustrating. Oh my god! Rise agility went up a second time. Holy crap! I'm going to save state that because that's insane. But yeah, just getting them to eat. Just eat. And they're like, no. It's human. It's human nature. That's my point. It is not inherently a bad thing as long as it is within reason. Because it is how we develop. We develop by pushing. We metaphorically push until we run into a wall. And then we push a little more. And we're like, okay, we can't push here. And then we push other directions. Yeah. I don't want to eat. And then I'm hungry. And I don't understand that I'm hungry because I'm not eating. I always feel bad for really young children because they legitimately do not understand. There's no comprehension there. Have you ever witnessed a child do something in like a fit and then hurt themselves and then be very upset because they are now hurt, not understanding that they just hurt themselves? Like lacking the ability to comprehend that they just did that to themselves. I feel terrible for kids. It's one of the reasons my heart goes out to them so much, and why I try to be as tolerant and understanding and non-yelly as I can. The other reason I try not to yell at kids as much as I possibly can is because I remember exactly what that feels like, because I have a good memory. I remember my mother yelling at me when I was quite young. It was quite unpleasant. God, chicken. Yeah, push-ups. Okay. So I paused here. I'm indulging myself in a save state. I don't want to reload this. I haven't save stated yet. We accepted the loss yesterday. But this is a mini-boss. Exactly. Child abuse is horrific because they are innocent and incapable of it. It's honestly, it's so frustrating to me. If I can just rant for just a second. Most people have an almost instinctive protective instinct towards dogs and cats, specifically. It sometimes it's animals in general, but it is very much dogs and cats. Now, the reason why is obvious. Because they are functionally innocent, right? There's no malice in a dog. There's no evil intent in a cat. No, get your jokes out of the way. But it's still true, right? They don't have the mental development to be evil. They just want to be friends and take care and be part of the pack with you. And so when you see that kind of animal abuse, that's awful. It's an immediate automatic reaction to that of, wow, that's awful. And you're probably thinking, well, why is that irritating you, Laura? Because people tend to not have that with kids, where it's the exact same problem. Arguably worse. So you're probably wondering, why did I save before this fight? Well, so fun fact, I happen to know that this boss is weak to ice. That's why I've been leveling ice this entire time. And yeah, we're gonna go ahead and actually get some buffs out and everything for this, because this, yeah, you notice how our best heavy-hitting melee just hit it for 0. Granted, I am still a little underleveled because this game. I heard that, Darkrai, and yeah, that really sucks, and I don't have anything good to say about that. Now, it is weak to ice, so we can literally one-shot it. But I want you to imagine getting to this part of this dungeon. This is almost this is actually the second to last floor of the dungeon. Opening a random chest, getting an encounter with what is actually a boss. It is the first real boss in the game. The second boss is a little bit after this. Because the Sergeant doesn't count as a real boss. The Sergeant's like Garland 2.0. And fighting that land turtle who is basically immune to physical attacks. And resistant to most magic, except for ice. And I think fire does neutral damage. Still, it got us something very valuable. The exit spell. So, I'm going to teach that to Furion now. Oh, Jesus Christ, tell me about it, Spinobi. If you remember, I don't want to get too much into the specifics of a spoilery scene, but there's a scene in Endwalker which was hitting me like a ton of bricks. Because a child would naturally propagate a despair wave. They don't understand. They don't have the mental fortitude to resist that because it's not even in their comprehension range. All they know is, "Ah!" Conversely, kids would also be resistant to that for the same lack of comprehension under the right circumstances. What's that for a weird one? God. Eat the mashed potatoes, Ross! To this very day, Ross cannot eat mashed potatoes. So I'm going to indulge in another save state in a second here. Try to get a little bit more experience. Experience? It's kind of the wrong word, isn't it? Get a little more something. Stats, I guess, while we're down here. I mean, again, all kids are picky eaters when they start off. That's how that is. The good news is we've gotten a decent amount of gold while we're down here. Almost entirely from chests, but still. It is, if we have increased our gold to the point where we're going to be able to buy some frickin' tomes and gear when we get out of here, which is going to be very helpful. Yeah, the furthest back my memory goes is when I was 3. And that's very vague memories. Oh, Who Girl, are you still there? I lost her. Ah, well. Okay, so, like I said, I'm going to indulge in a save state here. Oh, there she is. It was Breath of Fire 5 was the name of the game. Which I suppose I'm also telling to Trihexia. Okay, boss fight. Hang on. Let's switch off the cave playlist. Boss music. Okay, so let's see if we can do any damage to this guy. And we do have ice at level 2 now, so that might help. And we're going to want safe because this guy hit this guy get trick. 0 damage! Yep, that's what I expected. Yep, 0 damage. Yes, Breath of Fire 5 is the one on the PlayStation 2. It's what most people refer to as the bad one, because we didn't know Breath of Fire 6 existed yet. We were so innocent back then. Oh my god, I'm doing no damage. I just did 28 damage to this guy. Now the good news is he does not have that much health. But that's bad because I can't do a lot of damage without him. Oh, and he's still hitting me for 40. Right. I don't know what I was thinking. And a hypothetical Breath of Fire 6. If we were to hypothetically have a Breath of Fire 6 that's frickin' mobage. What are the limitations on having to complete this game, Mr. Red? Yeah, you got me beat there. I can only go back to 3, like I said. And my memories when I was 3 are very vague. I'd still probably play FF2 over beating Penance at that point. Did she kill him? Did not kill him. Oh, that's really bad. Okay, we'll do this. Get her evasion up. If this doesn't kill him, we are in a bad way. Not this, because we can still crit him. Crits will still do damage to him. Oh, it didn't kill him! Oh, God! Okay, that's awful. Okay. Ugh. Okay, let's spend a round healing. Let's just recoup a little bit here. We have Protect on, and we have Blink on, by the way. And he is just shrekking our assholes. We are getting the swamp rod. I can't remember. Mr. Red did it better than me. Look, I can't be vulgar. I don't know what you want from me. So now we're going to be doing something called crit fishing, which is exactly what it sounds like. We have 3 mana left on him. Okay, yeah, that's it. I would rather play this than After Years. I can answer that right now. So we're all hitting for 0, in case you're missing this. Or 1! We did 1 damage! We need a crit. We need crits. If we don't get crits, we cannot do damage to the boss. Physically incapable of hurting him. So now we're just fishing for crits. Yeah, me too, Ross, actually. Let's watch it with my mother. I would have been 8, I guess? What year was that? '89. I was 7, excuse me. Yeah, so he doesn't have the ice spell, Walker. I don't know why you think he does. Oh, we got a crit. We got a crit. Okay, so negative for that boss fight. Actually, honestly, both boss fights, because they both share the same quality. They're both basically immune to physical damage, which means if you get to the bottom of the dungeon and you're out of mana, which we are, sucks to be you. Now, here's the funny part. If I didn't save my last bits of mana in Minwu, I would now have to walk out of here. I also have it on random, so let's go ahead and do that. Oh, thank you, God. Save, save, save. Okay. So here's the funny thing. We just got a new piece of armor, and you're like, oh man, I can't wait to equip that, right? Well, here's the funny thing. I don't think anything anywhere indicates this, but I'm pretty sure... Oh, God. Excuse me. I'm pretty sure that mithril armor is heavy armor. Now, you're probably thinking, what's heavy armor? Well, I actually talked about this earlier. So all armor in the game is either heavy or light. Light armor is what you want, and is good. Heavy armor absolutely destroys your ability to evade attacks, but will give you more absorb. Hypothetically, this should be a trade-off, right? This should be a choice between these two. In Reality Land, no, you want light armor. Absorb will never be as good as evasion. So, yeah. Now, nothing indicates that, of course. Oh, Jesus Christ. Hang on. Okay, there we go. Oh my God. Can I at least get to town, please? Jesus. Alright, let's see how expensive this inn thing's. I actually don't remember Darthinka in this version. I know it does it in later versions. 261 gil. That is not a cheap inn rest. Yeah, you remember how I mentioned that it's hypothetically better to charge you per how much it heals you for? You'll notice that we're here, basically having finished the first dungeon, and that's already worse than in the old game, or in FF1, where you just paid a static amount for an in-stay. Okay. Oh my God, I have a headache. Alright, so... is there a game I've played that if I knew what it was, I would have vetoed it? Yeah, Frambo is the obvious answer. Honestly, I would have gone with I Have No Mouth as well. It wasn't nearly as bad as I thought it was, but honestly, there was no reason to play that game. Did you know horrible things are horrible forever? Endless eternal suffering. I'm glad you enjoyed it, because if you did... Hang on, everyone keeps typing, what's the next game? Let me update that. I haven't been, because I know what the next game is. It's Final Fantasy XI. I don't want to acknowledge that it's Final Fantasy XI. You don't understand. It's going to be so terrible. Alright, here we go. So the next game is Final Fantasy XI. Well, actually, no. So first it's the non-dark. Because I won't be getting any work done. I mean, go ahead and ask your question. It's probably already been spoiled for Mizar. So, the non-dark, and then, Final Fantasy XI. I haven't told you, Mr. Red. And then, Midnight. And then, To the Moon. Block. I'm just gonna put block. And that's the queue right now. There we go. Well, I don't know if I'd say soon D20. Probably about a month out. Depends on how long FF11 takes. But yeah, as soon as we finish FF11, yeah, we're playing. Did I just... I mean, she's stuck up and snobbish, and I hate her, and I want her to die. But otherwise, she's totally cool. I can't wait to romance her. I'm lying. I'm not going to romance her. Yeah, make sure to ready your houses at midnight. Mr. Red. Calling you out. Anything? I mean, you don't have to. Like, if you don't care, you don't care. That is actually kind of funny to me. Like, it's the biggest back-of-the-box feature that's brought in literally millions of new players, and everyone's like, yeah, it's so amazing, and Mr. Red's like, eh. I mean, does it stab me in the eyeballs every time I place decor? Because otherwise, I don't know if I'm into that, you know? Yeah, Cassia is wild. Like, she is so upper crust that I hate her kind of by default. Yeah, the guild neighborhood we have set up is Alliance. Oh god, yeah, she is kind of like Aerie. I hadn't even thought about that, but you're right. Speaking of WoW. Wait, I'm going the wrong way, aren't I? Yep, no, I have gone the wrong way, past tense. This game. Might as well keep leveling my ice while I'm here. That's a good point. If there's no eyeball stabbing, is there a point to it at all? And yeah, it doesn't matter which side it's on. I actually have a Horde and an Alliance house. It's a count, right? Wait, what? That's strange. How do you like this walk back, by the way? This is a mandatory bit of backtracking just to get back to Altair. just to really emphasize this. We could cut this trip down slightly if we took the ship up there down to there. But that doesn't cut as much of the trip off as it looks like. Like, that cuts it down by about a third, is what I would say. This is still a huge walk back to town. Also, both are irritating, Evo. Sorry. If the person I'm playing Rogue Trader knew that I hate Cassia, they may never forgive me. I could not afford to buy gear the last time I was there, so I didn't bother. Speaking of, I just realized. So, let's talk about another negative. You guys like negatives, right? Real talk, I'm not sure if this game's going to get any gameplay positives. I was thinking about that yesterday. Like, what's a gameplay positive in FF6? Or FF2, excuse me. Almost said what's a gameplay positive in FF6? Yeah. Anyways. So, we're about to lose Minwoo from the party. Now, how many of you have ever played this game and equipped him up? Because, you know, of course you did. Raise my hand on that one. Yeah, so when anybody leaves your party in this version of the game, in later versions they actually do smooth this over, but in this version of the game, if they leave your party, that gear is gone. Deleted from reality. Nothing indicates when party members are leaving, by the way. The best piece of advice I could give on that, if you're not using a walkthrough constantly, is to just save periodically every time you're about to do anything. Just in case. While we're here, let's go ahead and sell a couple of things. The canoe? No. Let's go ahead and sell his cane. His copper armor. I'm going to double check the mithril armor. It's static, Triaxia. Although it's worth noting, not every character who leaves your party comes back to your party. In some cases, they just stay gone. Yeah, you gotta level up Minwoo. I'm probably not the only person who hit the optional content, the GBA version, and then ran into a wall immediately because everyone was turbo underleveled. Okay, so I need 2 more cures while I'm here. And I want a bolt. And that's most of my money right there. Let's go ahead and put that on our resident mage, so we have all 3 elements there. 3 principal elements. And now we can actually start spending some of our random encounters, raising our mana and cure on those 2. Now I'm going to double check something with the mithril armor before I do it. Thank God I happen to have this handy dandy walkthrough over here. Could you imagine if I didn't? Could you imagine playing this game without a walkthrough? I could. Alright, mithril. There it is, mithril armor. Okay, I was right. Mithril armor is heavy armor. And someone in chat, I forget who said it, forgive me, mentioned this. And yes, there is actually a magic penalty to wearing heavy armor in this game as well. Nothing indicates that, by the way. In Mithril's case, it is 20%, which means you have a 1 in 5 chance to just not cast. Because screw us, apparently. Oh, yeah, I should check copper. I'm almost positive... copper is actually bronze. Nope, I'm wrong. There's copper. So copper is light armor, just like silver is light armor, which is we're actually we're going to be buying silver armor as soon as we get to Bafsk. So silver armor actually has it still has a magic penalty. That's actually really funny. It's just much less. It is a 1 in 100 chance to screw up a spell. Also gives a bonus to magic defense. Now I know what you're thinking. What's the best armor for not having an evasion penalty? I say it that way because there is no armor that boosts your evasion. None. There are, however, armors that don't detriment it at all, and the answer to that is, of course, the Black Garb, which is the best light armor in the game. It has no penalty whatsoever to evasion, boosts your agility by 10, which, as a reminder, is actually a huge boost to evasion, actually comes with magic defense, and a whopping 40 defense, which, to put that in perspective, is about as much as a Diamond Cuirass. Oh, also grants matter resistance. I know what you're thinking. What the hell's matter? So there's mind and matter attacks in this game, and that actually is significant when you get into the nitty-gritty. Bad Breath, Break, Gaze, Mini, Stop, Swap, Teleport, Toad, and Warp, as well as the Excalibur, all do matter damage. So the Black Garb resists all that. So, hey, Princess. Oh yeah, let's learn about the warship. But first, let's give you the mithril. Okay. So apparently Sid was the lead. I should be reading this out loud. I'm sorry. Sid, the leader of Finn's White Knights, built the airship. He really put his heart into it. He was forced to leave Finn, so now he lives in Poft selling charter flights. I swear Min was about to leave the party. I mean, not like it matters. He is about to leave the party, even if he isn't right now. Hang on, we're in town. We should get to town music here. By the way, hi Alejandro. Okay, give this guy the mithril. Cool. So there's our new vendor. They sell mithril gear. It is very expensive. Oh, this game. Hang on, let's sell the mithril armor because we're not using it. Hesitant to sell anything else right now. Is that... Hang on, let's double check if this is worth it. I know I said I wouldn't use a guide, but come on, give me something. So right now... There we go. I think? No. Where's our frickin' swords? There we go. Okay, so right now, what do we have equipped right now? The broadsword, which I believe is that one. So, yeah, this is over double the damage. That's probably worth it. So that's dagger, staff, spear, and sword, I do believe. I really wish I could buy 2 of these. I'm going to buy 1. And I'm going to go ahead and put it on Guy, because axes are actually terrible in this game. And this way we can get a shield going, too. And because he wants a shield. Let's go ahead and sell off the axe we just got. There we go. Yes, please. Thank you. See if we can find some mithril shield. I thought about it, Blade to Ball, but honestly, swords are kind of the way to go. And remember, I don't know that unarmed is a viable strategy in this game. I mean, that's silly, right? Why would you ever go unarmed? In fact, I think the first FF that really emphasizes having no gear equip is a good thing is 5. It's true in 3 games before it. 1, 2, and 3, by the way. And technically 4, I guess, actually, with Yang. No, Yang has the claws, so never mind. But yeah, no, it's... like, one of my favorite little details about FF1 is I didn't know for the longest time that the unequipping the weapons off of your monk was the correct call. Because there are weapons that you can buy specifically for monks that are, like, objectively worse than having nothing equipped. And that was always so confusing to me as a kid. Like, why is this not working? I don't understand. Why is this monk so crap? Was I believe what I was thinking at the time. Yeah, I'm gonna buy these nunchucks because it's a weapon for the monk, right? That makes sense, right? Surely. Hang on, I'm checking one thing real quick here. Yeah, that's what I thought. I guess I'm committed to this bow idea. When's this next bow? When are we getting our next bow? Are there other bows? Oh my god. There are 7 bows in the entire game. Where can I get this? Hoft, looks like. Okay. Yeah, actually, Monobrent. Look, nunchucks, okay. Michelangelo's cool, I'm sorry. End statement. What am I doing? What am I doing? I think it's a good question. I don't think the game has told me what to do next. I also need to go double check something. Don't let me forget. Don't let me forget. Why would you use a thief? In the original. Do you like a character who's completely objectively worthless? Have I got the thief for you? A mysterious dark knight has recently joined the Empire. He was called back to Palamecia on assignment. He's in charge of the warship's construction. Please help us destroy it. Okay, so we gotta stop the warship. So how do we stop the warship? A group in Bafsk is trying to find a way to sabotage it. Please destroy the warship. Okay, let's do it. To Bafsk! I know where Bafsk is. Talk to NPCs, see if they have anything for me. Stop moving. If the warship is completed, Altair, and Poft will be destroyed. Okay. The Dark Knight rules Bafsk. All the townspeople were enslaved to serve him. And Altair, Finn's princess, is forming a rebel army. Really? Let's go get that warship. Destroy the warship before it's completed. I want to join the rebels and fight the Empire. Bafsk. Borgin controls the slaves. How meticulous. Alright, so let's grab a heal. Ugh, okay, we've got our destination. Bafsk. Question. Does anyone know how to get to Bafsk? Oh yeah, I should. no, Bafsk's warship is nearing completion. If they build the Death Star, we're doomed. Seriously, that's what this is modeled after. Okay, so I said I'd start raising stuff. So let's start just casting spells to use mana. I'm just going to keep leveling ice. Whatever. And yeah, red mages are... The idea is there. And in real life, having a catch-all, a master of all, is actually extremely useful. But, in a video game, catch-alls tend to suck. Damn it, Ninwo. I mean, arguably, even in FF5, a game all about job synergies and whatnot, red mages are just kind of meh. Hell, even MMOs have this issue. So, for a while there was a concept in World of Warcraft, which they have since walked away from, called the hybrid tax, which is exactly what it sounds like. The damage and damage and healing and tanking of any hybrid class was artificially nerfed in order to accommodate the fact that they were a hybrid. The mentality there was that a hybrid should never do as well as a focused class, right? So a mage should always out DPS a shaman, to use a very specific comparison there. They obviously walked away from that because that really was incredibly unfair and for no good reason, but you could see why they were still struggling with the concept. How do you make a hybrid work? Unfortunately, the answer is it depends on the game. Yes, actually, Ross. Kimari is the hybrid of FF10. And lo and behold, he's kind of crap. Aha! A broom flew by the other day and told me some sort of a spell. Push B select. There you go. I was not lied to. Hybrid archers. There's a thought. I guess I could switch back to Overworld. Hang on a second here. Yeah, we'll keep it on brand. Keep using magic. Keep using magic. And you do whatever. I admit I've never come up with a good answer for the hybrid problem. I mean, the best answer I've ever come up with is actually pretty banal. It's just let the hybrids be overpowered. No, seriously, just let them be good at everything. That's it. It's not a great answer, but it is an answer. Don't try to get so knotted up trying to balance them and just, yeah, okay, sure, here, tank and heal at the same time. I don't care. FF5 did that, if you remember. What's that? You want to be a knight with white magic? Done. Yeah, exactly, Mr. Ed. Like, that really is the best solution I've ever come up with that. Actually, yes, Lord Aramont, that's exactly how WoW does it. That took a few years of iteration to get there, but yeah. A druid can do everything, and it can do everything well. They can only do one thing at a time. Like, if you're, this is actually a real thing right now, if you're a caster, like a Moonkin, you can, in a hurry, be like, oh crap, we need heals right now, and essentially just switch to healer mode, and just start dumping your mana entirely on healing. You can't really damage while you're doing that. I mean, you could get your dots up, but that's it. But you can emergency heal, and you can emergency tank, and you get it. Swordmaster and Petrify, yeah. Kinda, yeah. Can you swap spec mid-combat? No. But most of the hybrids have some ability to use their other abilities on the fly. Either a talent or just a thing you can do, right? Like some ability you get that's just, hey, dump all your resources into this. It's usually more expensive, but you can do it. To use another example, shamans, elemental shamans, so caster shamans, can burn all of their maelstrom procs onto heals, which makes those heals instant and free. But the thing is, if you want to heal like in an emergency, that's going to cost you mana. You don't have a lot of mana on an elemental shaman, because healing spells are some of the only things that actually use mana as an elemental shaman. So you'll burn through your pool in seconds, but you can do an effective amount of healing throughput for a few seconds, if it's needed in an emergency or in a pinch. And yeah, there's just, like I said, just let it happen. Just let it be a thing. There are ways to specifically balance it. Like I said, kind of depends on the game. Just go for it. Oh yeah, and then that also varies from setting to setting. In a game like a Final Fantasy where most of magic is just learned, there's not really a lot preventing that. 0 gil found. Thanks. Literally bothered to tell me that I got 0 gil. Appreciate you, game. Warcraft is another example of a setting where just you can learn any form of magic if you choose to. By contrast, however, something like D&D, like, you can't just train to be a sorcerer, but you can train to be a wizard. So it kind of varies there. Oops. Yeah. What's the wizard superpower? Money. Are you rich, born to the right people, or have a patron? There you go. That's how you get magic in D&D. There's technically some asterisks to that, because bards can cast, and so can druids. Yeah, exactly, Dr. Hunter. Okay, so where is this? I've actually lost which town I'm at. Hang on, let's just blitz through this really quick. And there we go. Hello, game. Yeah, bards make less sense the more you think of it. Where are we? What is this town? You. Poft. Okay. So Bafsk is to the east of here. Okay, we've got directions. We know where to go. East. Now, the good news is, I think this is actually one of the times where it's going to be relatively easy to find the next location. Well, I list cleric under the patron thing, TSB, because if you think about it, really, there's not a lot of difference between a warlock and a cleric. Like, mechanically, right? You have a patron, that patron gifts you magic. There you go. Boom. Done. The specifics vary, and obviously the cleric is more faith-based, because you have to legitimately be a follower of the patron in question. Whereas a warlock, it could be, someone you hate, or someone you're just in an alliance of convenience with, or it's transactional. So obviously there are differences, and I'm not trying to say elsewise, but both of them are getting their power from an external source, a patron. Listen, warlocks have the monopoly on edge. That's not true, it's actually rogues. Die! Look, I need some cussing goblins, okay, Mr. Red? If I don't hear some cussing goblins soon. You mind if I share something just while we're here? Hang on real quick. I guess I don't know why I'm asking. I'm going to share something, so I guess you can mute me if you don't want to have something shared.
Ever since I was a child, I had to grow up on the streets, wrestling alley bears for food and fighting guards for my own freedom. It was in those streets that I knew I couldn't trust anyone but myself. The only thing for sure was that I had to find the monsters who put me there, to exact my revenge, and finally put my restless hunger for blood at ease.
So is that why you're standing in the corner of a tavern conspicuously?
That's something deeply mysterious and intriguing for you to find out. But I doubt you'd understand all the pain and suffering I've had to endure to—
Alright then, I'll see you later.
Wait, no, you were supposed to be deeply interested and ask me more about my backstory.
Shoutouts to Joe Cat, by the way. God, that's a 7-year-old video now. That's weird to think about. Okay, so we've learned the mythic ability to have a map, which is actually useful. What the that thing? Smite! Yeah, I think so, Metalord. I didn't even hear specifics about that. Because he went so... By the way, there's the Death Star in the upper left. You see it? He was so off the grid, I didn't hear anything. I only noticed that he was off the grid because he was off the grid. I stopped seeing stuff from him. Yeah, he's been back lately. I did notice that, too. But I have no idea what happened, and I'm not even sure I want to. It's probably just the internet being the internet. Lord knows, I'm used to that. We'll need a pass to get on the warship. Please defeat the warship. There's a rebel spy in the Empire's army. As usual, if you talk to any of the troops, they just kill you. I've been a slave so long, I can't remember when the Dark Knight came. Which is funny if you think about it, because it's been, what, like 3 days? 2? Like, it can't have been long, is what I'm trying to say. Thank you, Pitkiss. That was actually one of my early mod tracks. I'm just saying, tracking is the superior way to do music. I don't even want to hear it. Okay, so I'm going to go outside, save, because you should save before you go into any town in this game. Yes, really. Hey, speaking of... Now, let's talk to this guy. Borgen's so greedy. Yeah. Dude, I've been getting a lot of spam calls lately, and what's really funny to me is that they're clearly not for me, is how I'm going to describe that. Like, imagine if I reached out to, God, I don't know, Gigapudding. And I'm like, hey, would you like to meet all these hot singles in New Zealand? For those of you not aware, and try to be shocked about this, Giga does not live in New Zealand. And is probably not interested in hot singles. Borgen became the Watch recently. Wow. He's pretty lenient compared to the Dark Knight. Can't believe he's a general. He's just a moron. Oops, I didn't say anything. What about the airship? How about the warship? You can get to the warship through the sewers. Oh, you're the rebels. I couldn't act when the Dark Knight was around. He would have spotted us. Here, head through the sewers behind me to reach the warship. And then he just vanishes. Yeah, by the way, the texts I've been getting are not for the area code of my phone or the place I live in. And they're definitely not aimed at me. I think I'll sell that, actually. How... Sorry, hang on. You broke my brain, Madam Lord. How is that offensive to anybody for any reason? Ah, shoot, I didn't give him a garlic. Well, that makes perfect sense, Blade Duval. Give us your ass! So I'm going to test a theory here. Hey, cure does damage to zombies. I don't remember if FF1 let you there, but I'm pretty sure it didn't. Don't quote me on that. I'm not certain. I know FF3 does, but I wasn't sure if 2 did. It's like we're finally fighting undead. Thank God. Undead have so many weaknesses in this game. I mean, yeah, that's exactly what it is. Someone somewhere randomly decided to sell your information. That's why you... This is true for anybody. If anybody just suddenly starts getting an influx of spam, it's because someone somewhere just sold your information to somebody. God, my inventory is already almost full. Do you see this? I need to sell a bunch of this when we get back to town. Oh, there's a longbow. It's actually not what I wanted, but I'll go ahead and put that on her now. Because it is better. Barely. I do like how you phrase that, though, no matter what. How it somehow offended people. Because are we there? Are we at the point where being attracted to women is just considered a bad thing now? Or should I say being attracted is just considered a bad thing? I like women too. Women are cool. And canceled. All right. Did it. Ugh, got internet famous. So let's talk programming. So there's this interesting thing that old programmers found out about, where if you gave something a 1 in 256 chance, or sorry, if you try, I'm saying this wrong. If you wanted to calculate something as having a 100% chance to happen, but still being a chance, you had to actually put in a formula for that, right? That makes sense. To explain this a little bit, let's say that you want your system to have the option of using an item and it has a chance to break, okay? The rod thing, okay? So let's assume that you have this system in place. Now, let's say you also want the player to have access to an item that does not have a chance to break. It's just good. It's just solid. So what you do is you set the break chance of that to 0%, right? But the thing is, there's a fairly well-known bug in a lot of old programming, see Pokemon for a great example of this, where 100% actually meant 255 out of 256. That's a pretty low chance, but there was still a chance for things to happen even when it was 100%. This is how 100% attacks could miss in Pokemon, which is very well known for that. But this is actually a really common programming error in a lot of older games. A lot of times when it says 100%, it's not. It wasn't until the SNES that they started really hammering that out, because the SNES can handle multiplication. Not literally, I'm just saying that's related. So you'll notice I no longer have the garlic I've been using. That's because garlic has a chance to break when you use it. You can probably understand where I'm going with here. Or what I'm going with here. So here's the thing. Every item that you use in this game has a chance to break. And most of the time, it's supposed to be either 100% chance to break. That's technically how potions work in this game. You use a potion, it does a heal, it breaks, potion goes away, right? If you use it in combat, that's different than using it in a menu, obviously. But a lot of items are supposed to have a chance to break, like the garlic I was just using. But some items you're supposed to just be able to use infinitely. And that's where the 1 in 256 comes in. Oh, I'm out of mana. I'm stupid. You know, I wonder what the actual chance is of homesickness. I looked it up at one point in time, because it kept being an issue. I don't remember it right now. It's not a very high percentage chance, but you know how tables work, right? Oh yeah, you're probably wondering, because I actually heard this question a few days ago. If there's no multiplication in the NES, how do you do a percentage chance? It's actually really easy. What you do is you have a table. And this table has X number of things in it. We'll say 100 to make it easier, right? So you have 100 data points in this thing. So it's like 1 to 100. Very simple. Yeah, and yeah, it's a table lookup. If answer is 1 to 5, do this. There you go. There's a 5% chance of something to happen. Bam. It is a very, very simple brute force way to have random chance without having to do much. And then all you have to do is have the table constantly be moving. Some games do it every frame. So every frame that's happening, the table moves forward. Some games do a thing where every input you do moves the table forward. So, you know, right now, for example, hypothetically, nothing's moving, but I tap up. So the table advances by 1, I tap up again, it advances by 2. You get it, right? The warship is complete. You thought I would leave behind my work without finishing. In the wake of my warship's destruction, the rebels will have no choice but to surrender. I'm evil, by the way. You spoony guys! Jesus Christ, Ross, really? So anyways, the warship just got finished, so that's cool. Yay, as they say. What's funny to me is, in a lot of these older RPGs, hey, she's actually doing damage now. It would literally be easier and less work to just have, let's use level ups for an example. Rather than doing a calculation per each stat, per level, per character, which is what they do in, for example, FF4, they could just say, like, okay, here is your stats at this level per character. Some games do that, by the way. So at level 13, you will always have this strength, this stamina, this spirit, etc., right? Just static it. Turn it into a table. Way easier to do. But no, we gotta have random stat ups. We've got to. We're almost out of inventory space. Several FF games do that. But not all of them, which is the weird part. So there's the pass. By the way, if you're paying attention, we're up to 3 key items already. So we have an inventory tax of 3 so far. Yeah, admittedly, I'm not sure, TSB. As I mentioned earlier, there is some legitimate voodoo going on to get games like this even working on the NES. So, there might be some programming jumps or loopholes that are being exploited that I have no idea about. And I've looked at the code of these games. It is fascinating. I recommend doing it sometime if you have any interest in programming. Hilda just returned with her back. With her back in control, we may have a chance. Didn't you just see the Death Star launch? So the warship is heading towards Poft. The warship's complete. This is the end. ... In Chrono Trigger, yes, it was all static. Sorry, I had to think about that for just a second. You also don't get a lot of stats from leveling in Chrono Trigger. There is one huge stat up you get in Chrono Trigger. Can you guess what it is? If you've heard me talk about this before, you know what it is. Start selling all these antidotes. It is magic defense. There is a very fascinating thing in Chrono Trigger, which I admit I never really understood until I started doing the task for it. Almost every attack in the game, like an inordinate percentage of them, it has magic damage somewhere in the calculation. The reason for that is because every single party member gains a degree of magic defense every level they get, up until 99, which is usually seen as star on the status screen. At that point, the amount of magic defense you have is so high that the amount of damage most bosses do is very, very low, and the whole game's balanced around that. It's an interesting way of doing it, because most games just give you more HP, right? Like, you level, you gain HP. But in Chrono Trigger, you'll hit the HP cap very early, especially if you use equipment to boost it. So instead, as you level, you take less damage. So, interesting way of doing it. It does mean some of the really hard fights are very hard if you're underleveled, because the game expects you to have much higher magic defense than you do. Whoops, I didn't mean to do that. I don't know, push-ups. Giving a positive to FF2. I actually do think I agree. There's 2 points in this story that I kind of planned to give a story positive for. One is the warship, the other is the cyclone. And it's self-explanatory in both cases. I do kind of wish we didn't have to walk around quite so much. Did you know there's actually a chocobo forest around here? I don't remember where it is. It's up here somewhere. Oops. Whoa. No! God, the menu is so frustrating to use. Is it here? What's the story so far? So the evil empire is building a Death Star. That is barely a joke. If you want me to be less facetious about it, the evil empire, is it around here? Has summoned demons from hell, attacked like the furthest away point from it that they possibly could as their initial attack, which has always amused me. Like, seriously, Palamesia is like way southeast of here, and Finn is way west of here. It's almost on the other side of the world. Yes, I know about the peninsula, whatever. Point being, it's a very, very strange choice, but whatever. So they attack Finn with their demons. Woo, demons. And then they go to build a warship in order to use it to cause mass devastation to the rebels, to force them to surrender. Also, Finn was betrayed by a man named Borgin. And I think that's it. I think it's the story. No, it's all good. Like, be mad at Metal. I'm actually with you. It's such a dumb thing for people to get upset over. People get upset over the dumbest damn things. And that pisses me off! No, I'm sorry. Being facetious. Being facetious. Thank you for the sub, Cure White Noise. Yeah, this Emperor guy, he likes... He's got a shtick, you know? He's got a thing. Yep, summon demons win! Alright, so Wrath of the Righteous, Monster Hunter World, and Riftbreaker. Done. Okay, I swear there's a freaking chocobo forest over. Give me 1 second. Just give me a sec, give me a sec. There it is. Wow, that's way over there. Wow! Okay, I need to show you this. This is great. I also need to torture you and give a negative. I'm dead serious. I'm going to give a negative for this. But not right now. Hang on. Where are we? We are here. Okay, so we just need to go down this way. Yes, Sid, please stop photobombing us. Oh, another garlic. Let's actually grab that. This is one of the only sources of garlic in the game, by the way, is the soldiers. I'm sure that's a joke somewhere. Okay. It's right over here. So there it is, I think. That's it. This soldier stinks! No, it's north. I'm in the wrong spot. I'm in the wrong spot. Hang on. I mean, garlic is actually really healthy. Musically enough. It's one of those miracle foods. There it is! Check it out. Absolutely nothing noticed this. Do you see that? Do you see that? Okay. You know how in FF4, there's like a visual indicator of where a chocobo forest is? Even though it's just the same forest as everything else. It's the same forest tiles. There's like a patch of forest, and then a patch of grass, and then another patch, and then the forest around it. So it's very obviously indicating, hey, there's something here. Well, here the chocobo forest is right here. There are 3 chocobo forests in the entire game, and this is one of them. Also, catching one is just a colossal pain here. I'm giving this a negative. This is the worst song in the game, like, objectively. No, this doesn't really qualify as an Encanum, especially given how extremely rare these are to get. Irritating. Good luck even finding one. And also, there's only 3 forests in the game. In other words, if you are not anywhere near Kashuan Keep, on your way to the Jade Passage, or going towards Mazidia, which are the 3 locations, sucks to be you. Hang on, am I going the wrong way? No, this is right. This is right. Although I feel like I missed something. Hang on, sorry, I actually really did miss something. Give me a second. I swear I'm not just trying to torture you with the music. I'm succeeding at torturing you with the music, but that's actually not my intent. I was just going to play it for a few seconds so you could really understand the nightmare. So it looks like he hasn't attacked the towns yet? Almost there, I swear. I swear, almost there. You can go exploring if you happen to find a chocobo, but good luck getting back. So, you'll notice there's nobody in town now. Sid might know the warship's weakness. The warship keeps attacking, but all we want is peace. Sob. Peace will return only when the warship is destroyed. Should you somehow survive, return here. The warship attacked Altair. The townspeople were evacuated. Please, God, let the king live. Most frightening. Prince Gordon isn't here. Where could he be? Why not both, Talia? Many people were killed by the warship's attack. Father has deteriorated. Isn't there anything Minwoo can do? I'll stay here to ease his pain. Random, you must leave the thing. And Minwoo leaves the party, and we just lost all his gear. Thankfully, we already unequipped him, but, you know. No warning. Now I'm going to ask Hilda about the warship, and she says, huh? So yeah, we lost the crutch. Which is actually worse than it sounds twice. Because not only have we lost a higher level white mage with tons of magic, we lost a 4th party member. So... I mentioned this back in FF1. Losing a single party member in a game like this is actually really damaging. You get 4 actions per round. Truncating that down to 3 is a huge loss. So, that sucks. Okay, so yeah. Now we gotta go talk to Sid. Thankfully, we do know where Sid is. I'm gonna try one other thing first. Or, well, okay, first we're gonna have this. Very important. No, hang on, let's do this. See if we can drag Ice up to level 3 while we're at it. Yeah, I like the idea that bards in-universe don't actually explain where their magic comes from, because that'll ruin it, right? At least Minwoo left his canoe, could you imagine? What was that applicable? Other than a map that works. Whoops, I actually went to the wrong spot. I wanted to go over here. Yeah, that's what I thought. So there's several NPCs in this town which give you some guidance, including the directions on how to use the map. They're gone. Because they're all dead. So... I didn't cast suggestion. Really, Blade Ball? Huh. That's doubly interesting because I'm almost positive the first FF to actually do that is 4. Remember those? The little tutorial rooms in the first 2 towns, actually. Although in the original FF4, the original, there's actually only 1 of those tutorial rooms. Listen, I had to kill him, Saber for Wife. You don't understand. They are calling to me. Oh, excuse me. Oh my gosh. Sorry, I swear I'm not bored. I'm actually just tired. I might take a slightly early lunch. Not right now, just in a minute here to lay down for a bit. The headache is not helping anything. Pretty sure it's a pressure headache, because I don't know if you guys have seen, but there's this weird pressure front moving through, like, the entire Midwest corridor of the United States right now. No, we've had a lot to chat about. It's been cool. It's been cool. I might also be bored. I'm kidding. I don't feel bored. I know what boredom feels like. There's like a restlessness that comes with it, right? This is more like... Da-da-da-da. Ba-dee-ba-dee. Okay. Alright, Sid. Oh, everyone's dead. No, I haven't even started on track 4. Pay the old man to ride the airship. Hang on. Warship. You must destroy the warship. Like the warship, my airship uses Sunflame for power. It's hard to control the Sunflame. An excess of flame in the airship's engine is disastrous. So, where do I get a Sunflame? Now, we're going to be able to ask people about Mithril for a long time. So, where do I get the Sunflame, Sid? This is interesting. I'm not sure if the game conveys where to go next. I know exactly where I'm going, for the record. But I'm not sure if the game tells me. Hang on, let me look something up super quick here. Listen, there's no such thing as too much FF14. Blah, 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 blah. Oh, wow. Yeah, no, okay. The game wants me to go right back to Altair. Okay, backtracking negative. We've already had 2 of those, actually, if you're paying attention. Although, actually, I should kind of get this stuff out of the way here really quick. Since our inventory tax is starting to take toll already. Guidance and walkthroughitis are pretty similar to each other. But in this case, I would say this is straight up walkthroughitis. Oops, wrong thing. Hang on, I want this. So he's almost at sword 4. That's actually pretty decent. He's already up to sword 2. That's also pretty decent. And she's up to bow 4. Very nice. I'm doing on magic. Ice is... it's getting there. We're approaching Ice 3. You know, another thing the Pixel Remaster has? Auto Battle. And I know you're thinking, well, yeah, but don't you... Ooh, hang on. So, there's no memory cursor, and there's no auto battle in the original, which means anytime you want to do anything that isn't just attack, you have to manually input that every single time. Which makes leveling kind of frustrating when you have to do that many, many times, like doing everything I just did right there. I know exactly what's cooler about that. You can also auto battle using items in the Pixel Remaster, which I discovered in FF1. The relevance to that is that FF1 actually has quite a few usable items, and most of them are actually really good. But they're such a pain to use because you have to go down, item, right, item, use, targets, use, in order to actually use it every single time, and that's just frustrating. In Pixel Remaster, you could set your last action to use item, and then just auto battle using the item. It's great. But I really should be leveling a bit because I think we're going to the Ice Cave next. And that definitely means I need to be leveling my ice damage. Look, I just really want Ice 3, okay? Is that so much to ask? I could do the glitch. Oh god, that would be fun. So here's the glitch, right? Alright, magic. Ice. Magic. Ice. I actually don't think it works if he's the last person. Now I'm thinking about that. Like, I could do this for her. Cure. 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 Anyways, if it's not obvious, every single time I do that, I'm actually getting experience for doing so. Like this. Let's just level up that bow skill a bit, shall we? Okay, you know what? Here, let's level up our sword. Oh, yeah. Feel that sword skill just rising. Oh, yeah, I feel so knowledgeable. So trained. In the sword arts. Yeah, anyways. Yeah, so it only tracks for you having inputted an order, not whether or not the order actually goes through or does any damage or anything else. So inputting the order gives you the experience for having done so. You can only do that 100 times per input per battle, because you can only gain 100 interactions worth of experience per battle. However, you can just sit there and raise your weapon and your magic skills pretty easily, like just by doing this. It's a very, very well-known glitch. Like, I knew about this glitch when I played this in the 90s, to put this into perspective. That and the random encounter glitch. So, I'll show off the random encounter glitch. Why not? Just really quick. It's not a glitch, it's just the way it calculates it. So, in FF2... and actually several FFs. You, I don't remember the exact numbers, but it's basically you're supposed to get an encounter once every 9 squares, right? So there's some randomness to that. There's some usual RNG stuff. Certain tiles advance that counter, blah, 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 blah. Here's the important part. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Save. And then you hit the reset button, you reload the save, then you go another 7 steps. Then you save, hit the reset button, and go another 7 steps. It's a very, very crude way of having no encounters. Now you might think, why would you ever do that? Well, it gets you extremely early access to some very late game stuff, to the point where I know a lot of people who, in normal playthroughs, whenever they play this game, immediately beeline for example, Mazidia, because you can just buy Flare right off the beginning of the game, right? Just boop, there you go. Here's one of the best spells in the game. Have fun. And there's other benefits to doing that too, obviously. Like I said, you can walk almost every spot on the game map at the very beginning of the game. So being able to just remove encounters from the board means a whole lot of availability if you can bypass those encounters. So, Sunflame. The Sunflame is Kashuon's emblem. It sits proudly on the castle's first floor. The flame can't be removed by normal means. If we had the Sunflame, we might be able to destroy the warship. So it's true! Find a way to harness of the Sunflame at any cost. Okay, so she tells us to go to Kashuan. But, like... What? Hang on, I missed something. Oh, right. We talked to the king. Right, of course we talked to the king. How stupid of me. King is very weak. I don't think I can heal him. The warship has killed hundreds. Maybe we should just give up. The Sunflame. Scott sealed Kashuan's entrance to protect the Sunflame, just as he was captured by the Empire. The Goddess Bell. Hey, there's our next plot coupon. There we go. Okay. Only the family of Kashuan knows where the Goddess Bell is. Okay, now we've learned Goddess Bell. Now we go back to Hilda. I've heard that Joseph talks about that sometime. You should make another trip to Salamando. So now we go back to Salamando. Do you like the backtracking yet? Are you enjoying yourself with this backtracking? Do you enjoy traipsing over the overworld endlessly? Do you like walking back and forth in a straight line? The Red Koopa Troopa Corps has got the job for you. Yeah, no airship. You can use a boat each one of these trips. It costs you money each time, and I remind you, money is a scarce resource at this point in the game. I have 2,900 gil, which sounds like a lot, but if I'd used a boat each one of these trips, which I remind you only actually works in some of these cases, that would have cost me most of that money. And then I wouldn't be able to buy anything I actually need, and there are shops coming up which I would like to frickin' fight. Or not fight, buy from. I'd also like to fight them. Screw those shops. 1 second, please. Okay, so let's traipse back up to Salamando. What's wrong, Ross? What? Huh? Just watch the stars glitter in the distance of the game, lulling you into a false sense of security. I'm sorry. Here, kill. Okay. While we're here, really should be raising their magic here. Oh god, more peaceful music. No! Okay, hang on. We're going to a snowy area, right? Let's just skip ahead in the playlist a little bit here. The longest MSQ in a 3D Zelda. I mean, Tears and Breath are the easy answers there, but at the same time, I guess that depends on how you count that. So if we're discounting that, I would actually say Wind Waker is probably the longest in terms of just time. There's a lot of spinning your wheels in Wind Waker. It's not as bad in the Wii U version, but it's still there. Aw, you're welcome for saving you from slavery. Ham tipping is considered customary. Thank you for your help. You're welcome. Breath was the shortest. That's actually funny. Tears being the longest does not surprise me. My daughter's safe. I apologize for being so rude. I was worried about her. Let me know if I can repay you. Yeah, you ever heard of the Goddess Bell? It's hidden up north around the snowy mountain range. However, you can't enter the snowfield without my ice sled. I hid it in the Semite cave. A secret chamber exists on the ground floor. I've marked the spot. I'll show you the way. Yes, Mr. Red. Damn, Ross. That's actually legitimately impressive. I'm surprised. Wind Waker was second longest. That is not a surprise. Oh, Skyward. I should have thought of that. Well, you see, TSB. You know, I don't have a good answer for you. Let me get back to you on that. Yes, this is Donkey Kong. Can you name which, Talia? Which Kong is being donkeyed? I do agree with something Blade Devault mentioned. I know these games so well and just by memory, right? And I kind of have to always mentally accommodate for that when it comes to reviewing. This actually came up at FF6 because there's one point in the game, I don't remember off the top of my head, admittedly, but there's one point in the game where it's not super clear where to go next. I just go there because I know where I'm going, but after that, 6 is usually pretty good about guidance, either in overworld design or just in someone telling you, hey, you should go here. And of course, you get an airship twice in FF6 to help facilitate that. I don't remember, that's the funny part, I don't remember Blade at all. I've never gotten lost playing FF6 either. I did an FF4 once. Oh, absolutely, TSB. But it's not so much part of the calculation as it is part of the review. For example, if there's a part of the game where it's like, go to this point, and there's nothing reasonably telling you how to get there, or where it is, or what you're doing, that's a negative. That's a walkthroughitis negative, or that's a guidance negative, right? An overworld negative, or a level design negative. You get the idea. Like, for example, in this exact case, Joseph does say, I hid this in the Semite cave, it's on the first floor. Okay, we've already been there. Cool. We could just go to the cave. There's an obvious blue stone. It's the only blue stone in the entire cave. It's hard to miss because it's right there at the entrance, so no negative. Even someone playing for the very, very first time could probably piece that together relatively easily. By contrast, figuring out how to reach, say, Salamanda, or getting to the cave the first time, because nothing indicates where the cave is the first time you go there, that's a little bit more walkthroughitis-y. Sense make? And yes, Tropical Freeze was correct, Talia. I give you sticker. Yeah, exactly, Blade Devault. What's that blue stone? You might have even interacted with stuff around the stone, like, what's around here? And you would find nothing. Does he have any spells? He does not. Let's do a little bit of leveling on the way to the cave. Just a little. I really do want ice to hit level 3 before I start working on fire. Hang on, I know we're about to do the cold area. But just for you, Talia. Hi, Nordabe. I do hope your Nordaday is going well. So this is the snowy area. There was an entire chapter that was supposed to happen up here. This is where the Moogles were going to be, by the way. And obviously, they're not here. The Moogles are not in this game. Oh, yeah! Because I don't like you having to rely on me, on just my hearsay, check it out. I bothered to grab a screenshot of the behind-the-scenes stuff. Here, check it out. So here's the Moogles from FF2. There's a whole bunch of Japanese there, which I'm not going to bother you with, but you can see all the different designs they came up with for the different races, and the Moogles are obvious at the top there. And then there's this discussion about them, and they were called like the Skyrens or Shirens or something like that. I don't remember, but they weren't actually called Moogles. And yes, those really look like Shy Guys, don't they? Like a lot. Like I don't even think that's an accident. What the hell? Let's go do this. There we go. Anyways, I just wanted to show that off really quick. So yeah, Moogles, they're not in the game. Moving on. What? They would end up using the exact same sprite for FF3, if that looks familiar. Yeah, by the way, fun fact, I don't know if FF1 has this off the top of my head. But I know FF2 does, so FF2 is one of the first RPGs to have the Absorb stat. No, I don't mean the armor. I mean, you can hit a fire elemental with a fire spell and it heals them. There's some interesting enemies in this game as a result of that. But yeah, so anyways, this is where the Moogles are supposed to be. We're supposed to have a whole thing where it's like, hey, Moogles, help us, please. The Moogles are like, we'll help you. We're cool. I sure hope that nothing happens to these poor Moogles. I like to think that just Mateus already got to them. He was just like, ugh, cute things, and just killed them all. Because he's Mateus, right? Because that's just his shtick. First thing the warship did was it went up here and killed him. Yeah, okay, so there you go. See, I cast ice on the guy and it healed him. That's why I mentioned it earlier. I wasn't actually sure because I was kind of racing through this, but I was pretty sure these guys heal from ice damage. Just wanting to finish leveling ice. No, Talia, no. Although I was really proud with how that turned out. Honestly, if there's two parts I am most proud of in the rewrite. The first is the death of all the people when Mateus kills them all on camera. And the second is the cyclone. What, Talia? Look, it's not my fault. I don't want to hear it. Actually, hang on. Let's do this really quick. Let's try to get their mana up at least one more time. Because their mana is so low. It doesn't need to be high, but it needs to be higher than that. Give me mana up, please. Hey, ice! Oh, ice went up! Yes! Ice 3. I can finally stop using ice. Possibly never use again. I'm not sure where we're at with that. His cure is only 31. Good God. We're at the 3rd dungeon, and I just hit level 3 ice. And for those of you who don't actually understand the significance of that statement, the levels go up to 16 in this game. Oh my God. Okay, I think I am going to lay down for a bit. Just really quick. This headache is absolutely killing me. So, I will be back after I lay down for more of the best FF2 game ever made.